I'm Cher Patrick, and welcome to Wings Over the Rainbow, The Forgotten Pets. We're here today with a lot of friends of Wings Over the Rainbow, including some feathered friends and some two-legged friends. To my right, we have Steve Gardner, who is on the board of Wings Over the Rainbow, and to my left, Deborah Schell, who is the founder of Wings, and Chris Hubin, who is also a board member of Wings. And we're here to talk about what today? We're talking about
parrots.
Parrots. Right in front of me, this is Zuzu, or Zoe, and she's sort of our capstone bird today. And then we have some other birds around here, and let's see, this is Isis. Chris, this is your bird. Tell us about Isis.
Isis is 7 years old. We've had her since October. We adopted her from a family in Middletown that was going through some financial difficulties with the whole economy.
Mm-hmm. And that's how many of our birds do come to us. Mm-hmm. Right behind me is the big red bird, the big red machine there, and that's Willow.
And many people know Willow, many people. And Willow, everybody comes in and wants to play with Willow. She's the official spokesperson for Wings Over the Rainbow. She's at all the shows and all the events, and we've rescued her about 6 years ago. She's 20, and in fact, Cher was very instrumental in helping Willow stay alive, because when she came to us, she was covered in tumors and had no feathers from her head down, remember?
Yep, she was in not great shape.
No. And now this shows you how you can bring these guys around.
She's an amazing bird.
Yes.
She really is. Then over here we have Blue, and Blue is Steve's bird, and she is a sweetie.
She's coming around. She's about the same kind of story. When I got Blue, she had a severe sinus infection and was in pretty bad shape, and we've many vet bills and a lot of good care and food, and she's coming around. So.
Steve's worked very hard on Blue, very hard on Blue.
And it shows. She's a real sweet bird. Well, one of the things that we want to talk about today is, of course, the fact that spring is in the air, and it's none too soon for me, but I'm very happy that we're seeing some warmer weather, and the days are getting longer, and, of course, our birds notice these things more than we do. And sometimes we end up with some different behaviors in the spring with the days getting longer. And one of those can be breeding behaviors or egg laying, and sometimes we run into problems with the hens, female birds getting egg bound. Let's talk a little bit about that. Are you seeing any difference in the birds at the shop?
They're very loud right now. And birds, it's breeding season for many birds do not go by our clocks. And they don't know what you know. To them, it's springtime.
No daylight savings time.
No,
for birds.
no daylight savings
don't really
time.
Care about changing their watch.
It's now springtime for them, and where their biological clock is saying it's time to breed and lay eggs and have babies. They can get very aggressive. They get very nervous very easily. Most of them will become cage aggressive because they're defending their nests, their territory. But all of this is not going to last. It's just part of owning a parrot, and you can make it through it because your bird still loves you. It just they're just a little bit more aggressive. You've seen, all of you.
Well, yeah, and they start tearing up like paper,
Oh,
or they start molting more, pulling feathers. That's all part of making their nest. So, and that comes along with the aggression.
Well, a lot of people think that birds are plucking when they're molting or when they're trying to build a nest, and actually they use their feathers for that. What happens is that they can overpluck and overprune, and that's when it becomes a problem.
Now, they also will sometimes, and I have Josie, who is Josie we thought was a girl, but is Joe, who's a boy. But he always plucks a little bit right on his chest belly, and then we'll let it grow back. But it's his brood patch.
Yeah.
And what a brood patch is to help keep the eggs warm on the nest. So
They also, you got to remember, everything in that egg is transmitted to that parent's body and their brain through that patch directly up against their skin. And
they know the health of their chicks that way.
and you know, this is when a lot of people will lose a hen at this time of year. Birds also catch colds. Do not if you have a cold, a cough, or if you're having problems, do not kiss that bird, because you're
That's a
going to
good
transmit,
Yes.
and the germs on your hands are going to be transmitted. A bird can catch just about any disease a human has. So
With the flu going around, I know last year news about the avian flu, the swine flu, the new flu, which had an avian component to it. Everybody was worried about getting their flu shot. And the truth about the flu is, even though if your bird is in captivity, it's not going to give you the flu.
no, but you will
But
give
you can give
the
bird
bird.
the flu.
And this is what people have to be careful with. If you're sick, don't hang on your bird. Get well, because you show your bird the same respect you would show your children. If you're not going to hang on your kids when you're sick, why are you hanging on your bird?
That's right. No kisses on the beaks, and also wash your hands before
Definitely.
feeding and changing food and water out. Well, I have had, back when I had finches, I had them laying eggs all the time. And what I would do is I would take a needle when they would lay eggs the first day and put a little hole in the end of the egg so that it wouldn't continue to develop. And I would let them sit on the eggs because of the fact that, you know, eventually what they do is deplete their calcium so badly that they can't form
Yeah.
the shell of the egg, and that will eventually kill them. And female birds don't tend to live as long as male birds for that reason.
79% of what goes into a female's body goes into the egg. 95% of that egg is fluid.
And that is one of the things that I found when Roxy goes into these. I make sure that she's got vitamins in her water all the time, and give her extra calcium and extra fruits and vegetables, and it tends to, because a lot of times they'll quit eating too when they're sitting on eggs, so you have to watch that as well.
One of the things that breeders will click into a breeder and let a breeder know a hen's getting ready to lay is they start drinking a tremendous amount of water. So you need to provide a lot of water for your hens. Exercise. People keep these birds in these small little cages, and they're not exercising. And that's another way of becoming egg-bound.
Not being able to actually pass the egg
Exactly.
because the abdominal muscles aren't strong enough.
And it takes up to 72 hours for a hen to pass an egg.
That's a long time.
Not really. Not
it
really.
seems like
No.
to actually pass the egg.
No, not really.
They're not in quote unquote labor for 72
Yeah,
hours. They are.
Yeah, okay, and that's not. Remember, I was a
People complain
breeder.
about 12
Yes,
hours.
I know.
Okay.
That just seems like I'm. You
that's
know, I
not-
thought 38 hours was bad enough.
No.
Like 72
They can
hours
go up
seems
to
like a long
72
time for
hours
me.
to lay an egg, and the trick is making sure they have plenty of fluid. Fluid is probably the lack of good water will probably egg-bound your hen quicker than anything else, and the lack of exercise. If she can't exercise, she cannot pass that egg.
What can you do for a hen that you suspect is egg bound? I always heard warm water.
Well,
in a
that's what we've
bowl or-
always done is you can take, first you've got to recognize the signs of egg bindness. And that is your hen, when you see your hen sitting on the bottom of the cage, looking like she's constipated,
Tail up in the air.
Yeah.
Legs
pretty
further
much getting ready to lay an egg. Now, the hardest time for a hen to lay an egg is her very first egg she's ever passed. That you're more apt to lose a new hen or an older hen. Okay.
What age do they normally start laying eggs?
It depends on the species of bird, okay, and it depends on their environment. sometimes people will go 16, birds will go 16, 17 years. Zoe's never laid an egg.
Wow.
Okay.
Zuzu.
And Willow just laid another one on my bed. Okay. But yeah, But yet there's other, you know, Maggie. Maggie's not, we've had Maggie, what, going on 3 years now? Maggie May. She has yet to lay an egg. Buttons hasn't laid.
And then
So-
they'll stop too at times. 'Cause
Yeah.
I've got a peach-faced lovebird too that laid constantly, and then all of a sudden just quit.
Yeah.
And she hasn't laid an egg for about 2 years
And that's
now.
the problem
And
with breeders is, you know, in the wild, parrots don't lay like everybody thinks they do. Birds aren't laying continuously. Okay, they have to raise those chicks. And chicks stay with their parents up to 3 years with the big macaws and stuff. Okay, so they're not laying eggs all that time. But what a breeder will do is take away the eggs and just keep them breeding. And that's what,
Right, because they
okay?
want to hand raise the
Yeah,
babies, and so
yeah.
if
But-
the birds don't raise a clutch,
Yeah.
they'll produce again sooner.
And that's, or if it's destroyed some way, they'll produce again. But, oh God, I just lost my train of thought. Alzheimer's just kicked in. No, go ahead.
Well, that's okay.
No.
The thing about them, and with the female birds,
Yeah.
is calcium is important to keep in their diet. And
Greens.
some things, greens,
A lot of
kale.
greens.
Kale is one of the best
Uh-huh.
things with calcium in it for birds. My birds like broccoli.
Mm-hmm.
And now kale starts to stink, and unfortunately, you can't
Yeah.
buy it in little bunches. You can't get these big bunches. So maybe the thing is to swipe it off a salad bar with permission
Okay.
and take some home for your bird, because it's very good for them. There's a lot of debate, and people will agree, disagree, but I think anything in moderation is okay, and that is some dairy products, some cheese.
We feed a lot of our birds yogurt, cheese, a lot of things.
I have an African gray that eats Cheerios with
Oh,
me
God.
every morning, and at the end of his Cheerios, he has to have his big drink of milk. Now we use 1%, and he gets mad if he doesn't have that in the mornings and pouts all day. So, and it's never seemed to affect him. In fact, Deborah was with me his last trip to the
Yeah.
vet, and he was pronounced robust, but
Oh boy, is he robust. Oh, look at Zoe. She's a porker from, gosh, she's,
robust. That's a
Yeah.
good way to put it. My blue and gold has cleavage. She's so robust.
that's a little bit robust, okay?
That's pretty robust, but she's trimming down a little bit.
Yeah.
I think Rudy, the male, has been chasing him a little more with spring.
Yeah.
They're a little more active.
Yeah.
He is so funny. I have 2 female macaws, and then Rudy, who is a wings bird, and Rudy has his little harem, and
Yeah.
he can't stand it. What you do, this is fun, you split the females, you go talk to
Yeah.
one, and he's, so he comes running over to
Yeah.
this side, then you walk over and start talking to this one, and he comes running over. So he's very possessive of his girls,
Yeah.
and they're both too young to breed, fortunately. But
Well, you can
one is
have,
getting close.
you can have males and females together. You just, I mean, we have several bonded pairs at the sanctuary. We have a pair of green wings, pair of Priscilla and Jack. Oh, God, it's terrible. It's disgusting. They're so much in love with each other. And I let them breed, but we throw away the eggs. I will not allow a baby to be hatched in Wings of the Rainbow. That is not what we're about. And you can go to any craft store and buy
eggs.
plastic eggs or a wooden egg.
Do they know the difference?
It doesn't really matter, okay, because it's the urge to sit on something, to nest on something, is what they're dealing
I use
with.
pecans for rocks.
Yeah,
I'll replace her eggs with pecans, and it's like she doesn't know the difference.
Yeah.
She's still sitting on them and defending them.
and they get very, and this is what people have to understand, that loving sweet bird is still that loving sweet bird. It's just defending its nest. And what people have a tendency to forget about with these guys is birds are wild animals.
Yes,
They're not
they
domesticated.
are.
And everything they do is wild, is instinctual. And it's very important to be very understanding and very forgiving and not to take this personal, because it is not directed towards you personally.
No, it is simply an instinct, just like you said, and also the screaming. You
Uh-huh.
mentioned
Oh,
that this
gosh.
time of year, I notice with my birds, and now I'm gone during the day,
Uh-huh.
but there's very much a flock mentality, and I can't
Yeah.
get home and surprise anybody because they're going to know the flock sounds the alarm. And the macaws do that specifically. But they are louder this time of year. They scream in the morning, they scream at sunset, and then when anybody comes home,
Yeah.
or something happens outside the
Yeah.
window and they feel like we need to know about it.
Yeah, yeah.
So in decibels, they're always loud. How much louder would you say they tend to be in the spring?
Twice as loud. And they tend to be, things startle them more. They're more on the lookout for danger. These are, it's really, we underestimate, we look at these guys and we think that we treat them like little feathered people, and they're not. They are wild, aren't you, Zoe? And trust me, they will bite you. I mean, look at Zoe, what she did just a little bit ago. Well,
Oh,
now
now she's gonna make a liar out of you.
Oh, no. Up, there she goes.
She's
And
like, what do you want? You want me to bite you?
they
Oh,
they
God.
will, and it doesn't mean she doesn't love me, because Zoe, and all of you know, Zoe loves me to death. But they are wild animals, and the only thing they have to communicate with is that beak.
Well, and that's an important thing that people can do is when they do have a bird is learn your bird's body language.
Definitely.
And whenever approaching a bird you don't know, don't move in too quickly. Just like with Isis over here, she was not real crazy about being stroked on the back of the neck or the back.
That
And
makes her nervous because she thinks you're going after her pin feathers, and she doesn't like those messed with.
oh, have you been cleaning her pin feathers?
No,
Okay.
God.
You can't hold a bird without doing this.
Well,
I've seen it.
Yeah.
All right,
So,
all right, I'm
did you
done.
spoil this bird for being scratched on the neck there?
No,
No. Okay.
it's her fault.
It's her fault.
It's her fault.
Okay. It's Chris. It's your fault. No, they do. It does hurt a little if you get too far down on those
Well, if
feathers.
it's
And-
still a blood feather, it will hurt, because
exactly.
it's still full of
And what
blood.
is a pin feather? And this is something that when birds molt, and they molt sometimes more than once a year or continually.
Birds molt 24/7. And if you look here, there's a little plastic. That's what Zoe just groomed off herself. That is what covers a feather when it's coming out, and it's full of blood. And as it dries out, it breaks open and the feather comes out. Now, if you hit that when it's still full of blood, it's extremely painful. And they'll wing around and bite you. Not meaning to, but if you watch how they interact with each other, they do the same thing.
They do.
Okay, if if Willow was grooming Zoe and she had a pin feather, she'd turn around and bite Willow, because that's normal. It's wait, no, that's not it. Get away. Okay, and it's just, you know, people mistake so much behavior as bad behavior when it's not. And well, my bird bites me all the time, and it's not biting you. There are reasons why it's doing what it's doing. But when they're molting and the pin feathers, they don't like to be touched. It hurts. It's very painful for them.
Now, we're with spring coming and talking about pin feathers, and it reminds me that this is a good time to take your bird to the vet each year when the weather breaks and it's warmer to get that annual checkup.
Yeah.
If you're taking your dogs and your cats, why aren't you taking your bird?
There's not as many vets around that do birds, but we do have several in our area.
We have several very good ones.
That, and if you want to know who a good avian vet is, you can give us a call at Wings Over the Rainbow. Now, we're located in Moraine, And
On Springboro Pike.
at 4950 Springboro Pike, next to Frisch's. And we also have a website and a Facebook page, and the Facebook page is Wings Over the Rainbow. Just search for us. And feel free.
Yeah.
We also have on the Facebook page, we have a list of, in the notes section, of some of the vets that our
We
fans
really like.
and
Yeah.
that we like. So, but that's very important. And why is a vet check so important? What do you think, Steve?
Well, you got to keep an eye on your bird's health. You know, with birds, they mask things because they're a prey animal. Actually, they're not a predator; they're a prey animal. So they've learned over the years, and it's built into them that they mask things. So you got to keep an eye on them. And through blood work really is about the only way you can really know
Yeah.
what's going on with your bird. Plus, they got to keep up with, nails clipped, beaks trimmed, and, like Blue and the sinus infection. I mean, they can get problems too, but they'll mask them for a while before they show up. So they generally do a really good physical on a bird once a year. And once you do the first one, that's a baseline. That's usually the most expensive. Then once they got a baseline, things can slow down unless there's major problems or something they
Yeah.
find.
Birds have allergies, food allergies, just like people. They get kidney infections, fatty liver disease. There is so many diseases and problems that birds get that it's just not, taking it once a year to a vet is just a wise thing to do.
We're going to talk some about socializing your bird
Yeah.
in our next show, but to clip or not to clip. I mean, behind us, Willow is not clipped.
No,
and the
she's
rest-
free-flighted though.
She's
Yes.
free-flighted, and that's always a risk, and we can talk some more about that. But this time of year, realize that your bird is going through some changes, personality-wise.
Spring fever.
It's do you remember Bambi? Everybody remembers Bambi? One of my favorite words was twitterpated. Twitterpated, and that birds are twitterpated in the springtime. It's a good time to get vet checks and to check on their general
And
well-being.
they do crazy things. I was talking yesterday, my green wing macaw bear, and I've got a little goffin cockatoo, Fred. Literally, I found them the other day. Bear was laying on his back on the cage, and Fred was jumping up and down on his chest. Now, they were playing, but it was just
A little
it's
frightening
spring
to be
fever.
sure.
They
They were twitterpated.
They were twitterpated.
Well, this has been fun today, and we're ready to wrap this edition of Wings Over the Rainbow, the Forgotten Pets, up today. And
What, so soon?
So no, it goes fast. We start
really
talking
does.
about birds. So we invite you to come back, to stay tuned. We'll be back on DATV, and hope that you will join us once again. And feel free to stop in and visit these guys. We're in Moraine at 4950 Springboro Pike, next to Frisch's. And give us a call, 396.
0950.
Very good. Thanks so much for joining us.